Okay, we're live, and so today we are going to do another kind of episode. We're on the episode 6 of building the zcoder, which is a parallel first coding harness. So it's going to be pretty cool, and I'm taking a lot of things from AIPack, which are already built in Rust, and I'm putting the best part into zcoder. And it's going to be dedicated to coding, and it's going to be with Lua, SQLite, and everything. So a lot of Rust. And it's going to allow us to code much faster and parallel and completely independent from the big guys. So you can point it to any models you want, and you are not locked into a company way of thinking. So that is what is going to be zcoder. And today we did quite a bit already yesterday and so on. So yesterday what we did is we did that guy here, which was episode 5. We did the TUI event, the Executor event, and even the model store on SQLite. So that is pretty cool. So now what we're going to do today is we are going to, So we are going to do the event cleanup. So there's some cleanups that we're going to do. And so I want to show the architecture and then why I'm cleaning it up. And then we're going to do the SQLite as well. So, and the SQLite, it's already done, but what I'm going to change is that we're going to use the UUID v7 as a primary key. So that is going to be the key here, that what we're going to do. So let's do that. We're going to go back to the code and see what we did. So I'm using Z, the editor Z, and then I'm using Alacrity with tmux. So that is what I'm using over there. So right now here what we have is we have that architecture. Actually, I'm going to go back to the architecture over there, and the architecture that we have for zcoder is this one. And the website, by the way, let me show you the website. The website is that guy, so zcoder.run. And that is a parallel first, and the goal is to be workbench-oriented, workbench-centric. So there's this concept of workbench, and then a workbench, you can have multiple workbench working on the same working tree, as long as only one work on the working tree, on the work tree, and then you can span off workbench in its own work tree. So that will be the goal of zcoder. And there's a lot of other values. We're going to go into that, on how we're going to call tools, which is going to be actually programs and all of these kind of things. So that is going to be pretty good. So let me see what we have. So the architecture that we had so far is this one. So I can remove a little bit the things. We have a multi-crate. So that is a ZCTUI. And that is going to be the terminal UI on the front. And then we have the ZC core, which is a core, which is where we're going to have our model, our executor, and everything. It doesn't know about the UI. Eventually, we might have a ZC web, which will be the web frontend. And right now, as a utility crate, we have a ZC common, where we put all of the common stuff for now. We might have more over there. We'll see. But right now, this delineation is a good start. You have the UI front, then you have the backend, which is the core, and then you have the ZC command to normalize things. So we are normalizing events, for example. We are using Crossfire. We are normalizing across everything. So that is a little bit what we're doing. And just to make sure that that is working and is the right one. Good. So that is what we're doing. And yesterday we did the whole thing. So what we did yesterday is that. So if I go to my terminal, a keys. So the thing I'm going to see is I'm going to say something like, so a keys is to put the keys, environment keys in the things, and then I'm going to do the coder, cargo run. Is using Zen AI, so it can talk to any AI. And then here say, why is sky red? And then you see that is a run, the database, and then it updated that. And so we have a whole ping pong here, which is nicely, because now what we have is when we do these kind of things, the architecture is as follows. The UI sends a command, the prompt. The executor gets the command over there. Then the executor does its work, stores the things in the model. So it will store the things in the model over there, the model and the store. That will go to SQLite, that's SQLite business. And then the model, in fact, this one it's not really used anymore. The model broadcasts events. And the events are very light. They are model events. So just the ID, the type, and the action, and the related IDs of the entity, which is very important. We'll see that later. But that allows then the UI to display the thing. That is a way. So it's listening to that. So when you send a command, it sends an event, it's message passing. We are using Crossfire, not Crossbeam. Crossfire is pretty good. And then when we have a broadcast that is Tokyo broadcast, then this one say, oh, I need to update my UI, and then it's going back to the model to say, hey, give me the run, which has the answer, and then it will display it on the screen. So that is the way it works. So now what we're going to do here today is we're going to clean up a little bit. The thing is we are going to have the event. So that is the event of the executor. So we have the core over there, and inside the core, we have the executor, we have the model, and then we have the lib. And I love this pattern here, which is derive alias, and I'm using macro rules. So that's my pattern to put that in the root. In the ZC core, the top modules have the error, their own error. So that's the way it works. Now, you can see that this guy has the exec event. So that is the executing event, which is just updating when things get executed. This one is not really used that much, actually, but it's still emitting it, is good. And then we have another event, which is in the bus here, which is a model event. And that guy is on ARC because it's a broadcast. We're using the broadcast business in the bus here. So that is Tokyo broadcast. And because it's a broadcast, it's a good idea to put it on ARC to make sure you don't duplicate the data. Now, the data is pretty light. It's just, this kind of thing. So it wouldn't be a big deal. But this way it works very nicely. So again, in the model event, we're saying, oh, here's the entity, and we have the entity type. Right now, we have only one guy. We'll have more later. And then the action. This is the action. Right now, we have create, updated, deleted. So far, so good. The option ID, so that's the ID. Doesn't really need to be an option, but at some point, yes, I had option because for the bulk. So sometimes you have bulk update, and you want that. And so that's why it's an option. And then you have the related ID where IDs, we'll see that later, but this is very powerful. So the UI, without knowing the whole hierarchy of the object, can say, oh, this got updated, and this one is related to that guy. So usually it's the parents, you put it there. You don't put the self, yeah? And that allows the UI to be a little bit smarter without getting too smart. It can be smart on the UI and kind of dumb on the model in a way. And it's saying, oh, I have run ID, and so I need to update run ID because I'm displaying that guy, without really knowing what properties and everything change. Otherwise, it gets very complicated into the stuff. So hopefully that makes sense. And now, oh, sorry. Okay, that's good. And sorry for the flicker. So now we have this, and in the TUI here, what we have is we have the TUI state, the types, and then we have the event. And so the event is the UI of the event. The way it works is we have that architecture, and I'm still working on making it nicer, but basically we have a TUI loop over there that loop under only TUI events. So like this, we normalize everything into a TUI RX. So we have an RX, and this guy is going to loop on that only. Then we are reading the thing with cross term. So we have a loop that reads that and send an event over there. We have the model as well. We have a model loop here, actually, if we were going to do that. That's model event. That is, will be the term event, I think. And then if we, that will be, it's called the model loop today. So that will read the model, loop, everything. And that is the same thing here. Well, actually, this one is not a loop, is the, yes, it should be a loop. Yeah, that is a loop as well. And that is the executor loop. To get the event from the executor. So the event is what happened in the past. And so this way, the loop here just worry about the UI. So that is the way it works. Now, the thing here that we're doing is we have this event business, and we are going to, so this event, in fact, I put it in the source here, in the root. The problem of that is that it's too, it looks like it's public. And in fact, it shouldn't be public. Nobody is listening to the TUI event. So it's misleading. It's a core stuff. It's not something that other people can see. So what I'm going to move is I'm going to, that is part of the cleanup here. So this is the thing I was saying today is we are cleaning up. This is the event cleanup. So it's good that when things works, you spend time cleaning up a little bit your code. And so I'm moving it there. And then I'm going to do a mode events. I'm going to mode event. And then this one, I do not need to do anything special. Now there's going to be a compiler error because I don't need that. And now the model loop here is going to say, I don't have that. That's normal because I go to super core event. So that is a create core. That is the same thing. Okay. And that will say that now this event business is only part of this core, which is what we want. We don't want it to have outside. So that is a TUI core. And then what we're doing is the stuff here is we're doing that. And on this guy, we're going to do the core. Core event. Let's see. Okay, that's funny. So we do the event like that, and that will be a core. Okay, it could be super as well. I don't know if I want to go to super or not. And this one will be, so right now I'm making sure that this event only belongs to my core. I don't want it to bleed outside. Okay, so that is stuff, and then that's it. And then just with that, I did quite a bit of cleanup because now it doesn't do the thing. It doesn't bleed out. So that is good. Okay. Now do this. I have one more warning here. This guy is model. I don't know why I need that. Hey, Void. Hex Void. How are you doing? So I'm doing the cleanup of yesterday. I don't think I need that. Nobody is using it right now. Yeah, I don't think this would be a silly thing to do. So I'm cleaning up this guy. And then, hey, salut Edge. Okay, people are coming. The stuff is, I do last minute because I don't know when I have time. So that's my problem. I'm not that good at YouTube, and my schedule is not YouTube friendly. I see myself very, so it's funny, on my OBS, I see myself in a normal exposure, but on the replay of YouTube, I see myself very overexposed. I don't know. I will see the video later. And so now this is good. So I'm going to do git AC and code clean. So that's part of my code clean. It doesn't really matter. And now there's another code clean that I want to do. So in my events, again here, the event, what we're doing, if I go back to the sketch over there, we're doing that guy. Yes, we have this loop. So we had this loop where, let me put that. Okay, whatever. Okay, it's good. Worked pretty nicely. Okay, so that's good. So now we have these things where we have the term event, model event, exec event, and everything goes to the TUI. And then this guy does that. So we have different loops here that will loop that and will forward it. So this one, the TUI is done and it just takes the TUI event. So that is a goal. Now the thing here, because I took some code from the AIPack, which is my other guy. Now if I go back here, system settings, I don't know if it changed my video or not. My video is super overexposed. No, I don't understand. So anyway, the thing I'm saying is, if you look at the app event, we have handle term event, handle app action, handle exec status. But then if you go to the loop over there, so that is a way. I just have a loop. I don't have an app per se. This guy is starting the business, and then you get the executor TX to be able to send to the executor commands. So that is why we have exec command TX. An event is what happened. Command is a to-do in a way. And then it will emit. It will listen to the status RX. This I'm going to change it eventually because status RX should be exec event should be a broadcast, and then yeah, it should be a broadcast, and that is the initial prompt, which again that will change because it's not going to be snap. But my point is, we start the business, so we can see, yeah, run the model loop. We start the TX guys. That is a status event loop. Yeah, so this one gets the exec, the status exec, and so that is a status from the exec event. Let's rename that like this actually. Exec RX. This is much better. So naming is important, and naming is important with AI as well, because if you give naming, then the guy finds his duck better. Now I don't know why he didn't send that. That was weird. I thought I did it the right way, but whatever. And then the while, the send, and then it does this, and then it does a run term. So that is a loop for the term. Yeah, so here we get the things there. They have different model here. Eventually we might normalize that, such as here's 3 different styles. Yeah, this one is inline loop, this one is inline loop as well. It's 2 different styles, I guess. And then we have the run term here. And then we start the TUI loop. Yeah, so that is the TUI loop. And so this is that guy. And this guy runs into the terminal and he receives the event. We're going to do a very cool things here. Eventually, we're going to debounce events as well, such as the Ratatouille doesn't have to over redraw itself. And that is very important. Like for performance is critical because sometimes you get too many events. So you want to debounce them to have the right thing. And we get the term and we get the action. And so that is where we get all of these things. And we can see that we are handling these guys to the app event guy, which is actually the TUI event handler. That would be the right name, and it's nice because then it's organized better. And then after we see that the model is here, so it doesn't have its own function. And in fact, I don't like the fact that we do that like this, the match. I want it everything. I want the top guy over there. So that is what I want. I want to take this code and I want the top guy. So I have two ways of doing it. Either I can do it by hand, it's fine, or I can do it with AI. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to do this one, and git log. I'm going to git amend, git add, C, git amend. Okay, and that will be the cleanup. And now I have my keys over there, and then I'm going to do AIP run pro add coder. So the pro coder here, what it is just to make sure that we know what's going on, is today the way I code, I do production coding with AI, is I have AIPack. It's open source, it's written in Rust, it's very powerful, and a lot of things are going to go to zcoder. And AIPack allows you to run packs of agent, and one of the pack is ProCoder. And so it has a .aip, which is a kind of an AI program in a way, and it also supports Lua. So you have Lua inside the AIP, and you can have also extra Luas. All of that will go into zcoder, and it will have the concept of workspaces. So we're going to code actually the zcoder. We're using a lot the ProCoder stack. The difference between that and Cloud Code and things, and sometimes people are using both Cloud Code and things, and ProCoder, is a control first. So you really are in the loop of the development flow. So that is a benefit. So if I go over there, I'm going to run ProCoder, and before I do a coder prompt. So the way that ProCoder works, and zcoder will be a little bit more familiar, because ProCoder is unfamiliar a little bit. It has a parametric prompt where I put my knowledge and everything. And so I have my Rust 10x knowledge over there, and then my context, my auto context, because it will index the stuff, and my workbench. And so that is what is going to get back into our zcoder in a native way. So right now we're going to say, code clean, or event code clean. And this way we have the chat, and it allows the AI to give a chat. I'm going to use a new flash, so update the AIPack, the alias has been updated. And now I can do something like that, which is look at the this is a good question. Yeah, so there's something very cool here, which is going to happen in zcoder, is that the zcoder, the AIPack, the .aip, I'm starting an AI prog, which is a crate that is Lua. So all of the AIPack function will go to AI prog, and AI prog, like program, will be this runtime that can run this Lua with all of this Lua function. And so then, to your point here a little bit, is like zcoder, you can write AI program, which was the .aip of AIPack. And it's just that it will run natively inside zcoder as well. But then you can do that as well. So what I want is, I want to look at the TUI loop and move the event, the top event handler to TUI event handlers. Okay. And then also create a handle model event. Okay, so we're taking this guy here, and what we want is, hey, move that over there, and then we're going to say, for example, that guy, yeah, handle app event, which then sub one stuff, and then some. So now if we do that, hopefully if we do a run ProCoder, it will do the code map. So code map happened in parallel. So we see here I have a concurrency of 32. So that is AIPack. But again, all of this goodness will go in zcoder, and it code maps. So he's ask AI all the time to say, hey, give me the summary of these files and the when to use public types and everything. So he gets this data from the files, and then when he got that, then he can do the reduce. So I go from 67 files to 3 files in the context and 2 files in the knowledge. So that is the way it works. So I can see the file he got. And so that I'm using Flash right now, which is a little bit 3 times the price. So I'm going to probably use mini high over there. And then after I'm using Flash to do the coding as well. So Flash kind of, now the 3.5 Flash kind of did the 5 times. Yeah. So that is the thing. So now we're going to see that, and again, the goal here, so it did the change, TUI loop, app event, and that is 2 events. Sometimes it changed twice, the same files, it's fine. That is Flash, so it's interesting. Every model has a different way of doing it. So now we had this, which is pretty cool. I'm pressing save to make sure it compiles. It does things, that's good. And if there is an error here, we can do, so that is the thing again, yes, we could prompt it, but because we are a developer and we know what we do, we can code it by hand. So we're going to say, let match, match, if let air we're going to do like that, and so this one we have this, so that is the same, similar to that, but now we have the debug stuff, so we say error, and we're going to say TI loop error on app event. I think we gave the ownership, so we don't have the app event now, that's fine. And then we're going to cause, and then this one. So that is what we're going to do right now. So this way we have this, that is our tracing error that we love. And then this one is not happy. Why is not happy? Okay, fair enough, because I don't have a break. Now, do I want to have a break when an event that I don't want to break? So, because I don't want to have a break if it's well, we're going to do the break right now. So this is tmux, EIP, keys for my keys, and again, can go run. Oh, fair enough. Can go run. There's this thing here that, you see, it doesn't quit anymore. So, and Control C doesn't quit anymore. So I do the tmux quit. So that is one of the things here, which is the handle. I will do one. Yeah, you're right. You're actually right. One is much better. Okay, so now this is actually a nice one here. The handle app UI event. Now, the quit is a different beast. It's a beast on himself. Yes, because if we have a quit is we need to break. Yeah, so it's like an error. It's not an error, but we have to break. So right now we're going to see how this quit is doing. And you see, so when I get the quick or the stuff, I send a TUI action on this one, on the TI quit. So the TI quit handles the option like that. And so what we can do, let's do like that. We're going to have an enum. It's not, what is a bool here? Okay, false. Oh, this means that, I don't know what that means. Okay. Oh, okay, okay, true. Okay, that's cool. Okay, okay, that it's already done, yeah. So return true if needs quit. That's cool. Okay, so the AI didn't wire this guy off, yeah, but that's fine. So what we do is what do we do? Well, we're going to do a match then. Okay, so we're going to do a match. This one is going to be good. So we do that. We're going to do a match this guy. And again, I could have asked AI, doesn't matter. You know, we shouldn't be emotional one way or the other. And then we're going to do a match. And then we're going to say if it's okay, false. And I don't really like this because okay, false, we continue. And then okay, true, we don't, which is okay, but it's kind of a little bit, usually a positive is a positive, yeah. So break. And then we have the error. And that will be that block. This is what we're going to do. And now we go back there. We click on the stuff, can go run, and now we do this, and then beautiful, and then making sure that it doesn't do silly thing. Why is my car blue? Well, that is going to be stuff. What is it going to say? Oh, that is flashlight. How come it's so slow? Because this question was done. Oh, I'm worried now. What's happening? Okay. No, that doesn't, I don't know if it's because of my question or because of bug here. Cargo run. And I say, why is sky blue? Did we introduce a bug here? I'm afraid when... Oh, no, sorry. I forgot the A keys. Business. Yep. Okay. And right now I don't say, yeah, why is my car blue? And right now we don't have good error reporting. Boom. Okay. So that's pretty good. So it does work. And now we have cleaned up our business. Okay. There's a trick here of debouncing the events. We'll do that later. It's actually pretty cool, but we're going to do that. So that is very good. We have much cleaner font now. And then that's it. So in the model here, what we did yesterday is this guy. We get a model. If it's run, we say, hey, you know, the set last answer is there because that is a state that we have. So the TUI state here is over there, base, and that is all the values that I have to be able to display. And so that is one thing which is cached in a way to be able to display the thing. So now that we have that, we're going to commit git log, and that is code clean. So git amend, and we're going to push it. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, it can be more clean, but I think it's getting pretty good. The broadcast, the executor, you know, the exec event, this guy should be broadcast rather than exec event, but that could be something else. Okay, so now the next step is the following. So if we go to the model, so what we're going to do now, so what we did is, we did kind of a little boring part, but not, I mean, for me, that's not boring somehow. The event cleanup. So we made it work yesterday. We're cleaning it up to make sure that it works and everything is clean. So that is pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the SQLite UUID v7. So in SQLite, you have this whole thing about row ID that SQLite manages on row. And then you have the issue, and then you have what I like to use. But the problem is when you use a row ID of SQLite, if you delete a row, then the ID won't be used anymore. And you are not guaranteed that the IDs that were on a row deleted before become reused after. So that is an issue in many ways. So the way you do it, the way I do it, and it has a performance cost, but that's fine, is if I go to the model, my DB over there, so that is where I have my setup. That's my DB implementation. I have a little wrapper that allows me to exec and all these kind of things. So that's the way I like it. I always like to wrap my whatever library I do with kind of something that is for my app, kind of a domain API in a way. Right now we have this. So in SQLite, you can say, oh, I have ID or whatever, and you say primary key without auto implement. And that will reuse a key if you delete a row. So that's not super cool. I mean, in some cases you don't care. In my case, I care. So I say, you know, auto increment, let's make sure that SQLite will make sure it auto increment all the time. Now, on the other database, the AIPack and things, I had this UID, which was a UUID. So I don't put UUID, I like to put UID, and then it's domain specific how they want to do it. Now, there's two types of UUIDs. There's the v4 UUID, which is fully random, except a couple of bits that are other versions. And then you have the v7, which has a 41st bit or something like that, that are fixed, I mean, that are time-based, so they order well, and therefore they index well with the default indexing. So what I would like to do is now to say, hey, let's use UUID for IDs, such as I can have database and I can split them and merge them back. And that is very powerful when you want to do things, because then you can take a whole set of data and then plug it somewhere else. And everything sports very well, and you don't have to re-index, re-ID all of those guys. So this is what we're going to do, and I have about 30 minutes. And I think we are going to do that with AI and the ways that I typically do these kind of things. Let me check that there's no fire anywhere. Okay. Okay, so now we had that, and so what we want to do is, again, this guy. So what we want to do is put the ID over there, UUID. So I could do it by hand and then do the stuff, that is a way. But I'm going to go with my Procoder. And again, Procoder is what I'm using right now to code zcoder. And all of the goodness of AIPack and Procoder will be in zcoder, and it will be really workbench based. And the value of workbench is exactly what we're going to do is, you see I have this folder here, which is workbench, and I have these guys over there, and this guy, I don't really care them anymore. So typically I put them in index in the archive. And then when I have my stuff over there, oh, let me see. just one thing. So one thing here that what we're doing is we are doing the stuff here, which is going to be, I'm being slow here. I'm going to go to procoder, so that is my procoder, and now I'm going to have an event stuff over there, and that is going to be the workbench, and the workbench is going to be SQLite UUID, and I'm going to turn on the chat true, and that will allows me to chat with AI. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something like this, which is going to be do not write any code files, update chat.md. Because right now I want to do engineering with the AI. I don't want the AI to run and do things that I don't get. Now what I do, this is what I wanted to do. Sorry, I got the stuff. What I typically do, this is tmux. You can see the archive. So my workbench have their own Git, so this one is good. So that is the thing, and then what we're going to do is say I want to move the DB of the ZC core, DB entities of the ZC core. So this way we'll know where to find it, to use UUID v7 as the primary key. Okay. And I'm going to say a couple of things. Does that make sense? So I'm going to give it the authorization of saying no, it doesn't make sense. The second thing is to say that I'm going to ask does that make sense? And then the second thing is I'm sorry, I'm being slow right now. I'm thinking about something else. Does that make sense? And then the second one is to say, do you have show code design and files impacted? And then ask any question, if any. And so here I'm going to say again in chat.md capture requirement this ask and give your answer. So that is a way, and I'm going to do a run here on this one. I have a command run that wires to the right guys. Now what we can see is that the workbench is being created. Workbench has a chat here, empty, is telling how to use the chat. And it has the data. If I had data, it will be there. And then it will be the auto context. So that is what, you can see the last prompt when it will respond to me and all these kind of things. So that is the way it works right now. Okay, so now what we have is we have this, and the chat is working pretty well. So let me see how much it costs here. We're using Flash 3.5 now. So Gemini 3 Flash 5, this guy, and 10 cents. That, man, we are feeling it. And I can tell you, because I've been using Flash forever. Oh, at 10 cents. Okay, to be fair, 10 cents because I have the code map. Okay, I have to, no. That was not really big code map. Oh, the auto context. Oh, I'm using Flash for auto context. So that added 3 cents. Okay. And that now we're at 10 cents. So 10 cents for me, usually when I ask a question like that, I am like within like the 5 cents or 7, so it's funny. It's getting a little bit expensive, but that's fine. And it adds up at the end of the day, so that doesn't really matter on 10 cents. But so request for migration, does it make sense? Yes, migrating AI. So I like to ask this because this way I make sure that I'm not missing something. If you don't give the authorization to the AI to say no, I mean, it's not the authorization, but if you don't frame the conversation like that, then it won't say anything, and then you're like missing the stuff. Is a highly variable, oh, well, whatever, that is stupid stuff. Time-oriented sorting, okay, well, okay, I didn't want that. Trade-off, storage overhead, at 64, 8 byte, and we go to 16 byte, okay, that's fine. SQL row ID, yeah, it's a row ID unless without row ID. If we define ID blob and SQL still maintaining a separate internal row ID unless without row ID. That is interesting, I didn't know that. For small medium tables, the index storage overhead 16 byte is negligible. We should explicitly measure the impact of. Oh, okay. We're not going to measure anything. Cool, but redefine. So I have another question. So here I'm looking at the code, and this is where I'm engineering, and that is the difference between when you see. Vibe coding, or people that say, hey, I can code, and I didn't code for 15 years, and now I can code, and so that doesn't make sense. Yeah? What we want is this 10%. This 10, 20% is the most important. It's to make sure we are working with AI, they're teaching us, but we are making the decision and we're owning the decision. And then after we can change, but if you don't own, you cannot change. Yeah? So it's not only about, accountability per se. Is more like if you're not aware, you don't even know what you're accountable for. So that's the problem. Yeah. So right now, Vago is doing the new stuff. This is pretty cool because I have the ID business. And so he saw that in my code, I have ID. So it's like going ID like this. And that should work. I have a question here, but that should be okay. And we're going to keep that. That makes sense. So that's my ID. Today my ID is I64. So I like that. I like that. Database schema, ID. Oh, he got rid of the UUID. That's fine. And he say without row ID. Okay. That's good. Now the internal ID, I don't know if I really care that much. Anyway. This one will get indexed, so that's fine. And then adjust prep file, we generate your ID inside the prep for create. That's cool. I like that. So he got my patterns, yeah. This is pretty cool stuff. So that's why it's like we have to use AI. Base, and that's my prep field. So that is where I prep it's like a kind of a data filter of things that comes in and out. And because everything is flattened out as SQL file, SQLite fields, which is name value, then I can add things dynamically. And it looks like, oh, this is hard-coded and stuff. Yeah, but static string is almost like an enum. I mean, it's not that far. And then the nice thing about this is that then the system can create it, and it's not up to the layer above to create it, which is what's happening here when we create a run. So today we have that entity, run. The run has ID, UUID, so that will get out. The epoch, which is just, again, a wrapper type on top of I64, and that is my guy, so it's epoch in microsecond. Yeah, so that is not epoch US, it's epoch microsecond. And not millisecond. And then we have the prompt and stuff today. That will change over time. So I think I like a lot where it's going with it. Create core simplification, create inner. It changed a lot of things and very good things. File impacted. Question clarification. Okay. Before implementing this, let's clarify a few architecture. Storage representative. Yeah, so we're definitely going to store it in blob. So the way I do it for me is there's a guy, I don't remember, he does a grill me business or whatever. I need to watch more his videos and things. I don't understand it. For me, there's no grill me in a way. It's more like, hey, here's what I want, or here's the problem. Ask me questions within the conversation. It's not in a vacuum. It's within the chat. It's defined. If you have questions, ask me. But the grill me is not a distinct, like a separate task. Yeah, so this is, but perhaps there's value there. I'm not sure. So SQL blob, and I say use blob, and it's good. He did recommend that, so I'm not crazy. Without UUID optimization, should we use SQLite without UUID optimization for table? Since UUID is monotonically increased, yeah, kind of. It performs exceptionally well in this conversion, but it does carry some trade-off. So what we're going to do here on this one, we're going to use without UUID for now. And I think then we can change it later. Because I don't think we're not going to use it in the join anyway, so I don't know why there will be a value since all our guys will use ID. As I understand the client, we're relying on I64 ID. That is a very good question. And I think his answer, no. So we are good on this. Okay. So I'm going to go there. Then the things that I like to do when I work with AI is I always, so this has its own Git, yeah, and workbench. So I'm going to do a git AC, and what is the name of the workbench? SQLite UUID. And that will allow me to have that in the commit stuff. So now I can do two things, one-shot it, say, hey, we have enough, implement the cloud, or I do a plan. And I say, hey, now that we have enough, do the plan, and then we go from the plan. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to one-shot it, I think. So I'm going to say something like that. Now that all is clear, it's clear in chat.md, do the implementation. And then I can roll back both the workbench, which means the chat, and the code. So if you mess it up, it's not a problem because I'm using Git all the time. In chat.md, capture this ask and give summary of work done. So this way, I keep chat as kind of a log, which is fine. And then I'm going to run it. So I have a command R that finds the right tmux pane and then sends the R. So I could that again, the thing here is this guy is that guy. Yes, he's a procoder. So I'm using the procoder here. That this interface that we see with the two panels is the AIPack, which is very powerful and it's very interactive in many ways. So it's a like while it's working, and sometimes you see lot of little squares there, and it could be thousands, and then you can still interact with the whole UI in a very fast way. So we're going to do that, and so it's going to be really a parallel first. And I do think that if you want to do a parallel first anything, you have to do it in Rust. I think it's a waste of stuff. So today here I'm using the procoder here, this guy, to code that guy. So this is what we're doing, and a lot of the concept, workbench and all of that, the workbench concept of procoder, that will be native in zcoder. And so we'll be able to do the stuff. In fact, what it's doing, it's a little bit slow, this Flash business here, but people are using it, I guess. If you go, okay, I think I have this. Okay, I see it. Mux, okay. So that would be the UI It's a very high level mark, and I need to put it in the same stuff. It's an ugly way here, but it's basically, we'll have the things at the bottom, the prompt, and then we'll have this workspace. The workspace will have the summary, and then we can click on it, and then it will expand and this kind of thing. So it will be highly parallel, and you can talk to a workbench. Yeah, so for example, here, this is the bad example, but I will say, oh well, yeah, negative globe, which was an issue that I had at some point. And then you can talk to your workbench, and then it does the work. So that is a vision. Okay, so he did the work here. We had the CRUD event. He did a lot of work, no stuff. We're going to judge it. That is the latest Flash 3. So I don't look at benchmark. For me, benchmark is not a thing. People get excited about these numbers. I don't watch it. I play with them, with Rust, and I see how they perform. This is going to be tricky. So that is my scalar struct. And what that is saying is to say, hey, I cannot implement from that guy, from the ID guy. So if I go to ID, and I don't want to remove that, and I think it's because I have a from. Yes, I don't need that. I needed that before, so he got confused. That's fair. I'm not going to be mad. Flash 3 did a pretty amazing stuff here. And if that works, we're going to call it a day, and it's going to be pretty amazing. So again, like, so much value here, because I knew a lot. I didn't know the without row ID, for example. Well, kind of, yeah. So anyway, this is cool, the whole thing, and he did the whole files here. So we can go to that Z, you know, I can check all the stuff. Sometimes it's a little bit confusing the way they do stuff. So I like to check like that, and it looks pretty good. And let's go and do a cargo build here. So this guy is on the root, and then this guy is on the workbench, and that is my procoder AIPack, and that will become zcoder. That is like you know, price of GPT-5.5. When I work is I have about this price with GPT-5.5. So it's kind of sad because Flash now, from a pricing standpoint, it's within the GPT-5 and Opus. It's cheaper, you know, it's like 3 times, but it's still there. And in fact, if you look, I'm sure it's reasoning quite a bit. Yeah, you see that? That is a lot of reasoning. So here in the AIPack, and I'm going to do the same thing in zcoder, because those 3 guys, which is a prompt token, completion token, and within the completion token, you have the reasoning token. That is the eye of the AI. Once you understand that, you see the AI in the eyes. Here I know, I was like, okay, you didn't write that much, but damn, you think a lot. And so with GPT-5.5, that will have been much lower, I think, perhaps for the same kind of quality. Here, because it seems to have done a good job, and I'm not brave enough here. You know, sometimes I do that, but right now I'm going to keep it this way. And then we're going to do that. And then you could have probably stayed with Flash 3. Yes. So one thing I've done, I released the AIPack yesterday, and you can say Flash 3. And that will be the Flash 3 preview, guys, which is much cheaper. Still live. I think they're going to shut it down, but I could have done that. So I took the Flash, which now in the latest AIPack point to the guy. But you're right, step. So that is pretty cool. And so now it's actually we're going to do, going back to our guy over there. Okay, and then I'm going to do a cargo run. And if it runs, if it compiles, it's already good. So right now, We're setting up the database we created, but we didn't create anything in the database yet. But now, why is this guy red? It's funny because it's going to display the ID. Okay, this is beautiful. And that's it. And like that, we change the ID and stuff. And now this means this is a big deal. Yeah, the deal here, and like, oh, you change ID to UUID, what's the big deal? Whereas the big deal now is in any practical matter, I can split database, merge, as long as the same schema, obviously, yeah, but split them, merge them back, and all this kind of thing. So that, or move bunch of things somewhere, you know, so I can have an archive database, and then I can take a whole blob of run and all the children, put it there. There's no reindexing, nothing to think about. It's just a bulk insert, and then everything is good. So that is pretty cool. So there is a performance impact, but I'm trusting that the SQLite guys are pretty good, and for what we're concerned, we should be pretty good. So we'll see, you know, we're not going to have that many things. The most important things with SQLite and SQL as well, Postgres and so on, is when you have 10,000 tasks, 3,000 tasks at the same time, task, which will be a row in a task in the task database or whatever. You want to do a bulk SQL. And every SQL server had that rather than doing, you know, one at a time. So that is where you see the big order of magnitude difference. This one, hopefully in our scale, I don't think we're going to see that in our frame of reference. Okay, so that is pretty cool. So now if I go back there, this guy is giving me, actually, if I go to overview, you will see the commit suggestion is telling me. So I will typically do just like that. Git log. And then that's it. GPO. And then you have it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I think I'm going to close it pretty soon. So that is cargo run. I mean, that is zcoder. And zcoder is something we're building live right now. And is going to be a parallel first AI coding harness. So it looks very basic right now. And it looks like, why are you doing that? Everybody's doing that. But it's a control first, magic second kind of approach. And it's heavily based on the workbench business, which is what we're seeing. So in fact, in the workbench here, if I were going to go back, oops, sorry. If I were going to go back to the spot here, I will also copy the same guy for my workbench. So that in my workbench, that is here, this is committed as well. So this one I have. And then that's it. And then I can archive it for next time. And git AC, append, add commit, and then I'm going to do the archive. This one, the workbench is just for me, so it doesn't really matter. It's like checkpoint, like a game checkpoint. Yeah? And then this one, that is the one where I need to be a bit cleaner because that is external facing. But this one is for my personal bookkeeping, so I bookkeep like that. Okay, hopefully that was helpful to some. I think it was very cool. So today what we did is we did that things, which is, what do we do today? I'm going to move some of the screen over there. We did the event, the code clean here, the cleanup. So now that is pretty nice. So we have this model kind of looking pretty well. So we have these two guys, and then we have the model event going back up. And then we did the SQLite UUID v7 thanks to Flash 3. So that was pretty cool. Okay, hope you liked it. Thanks a lot for joining, and then see you next time. And please give feedback in the YouTube live stream if you want to be more code, more prompt, more architecture or whatever. Let me know. I'm always open to adapt those. And I'm doing these videos because I need to do it anyway. I need to code the things, and I like to share the way I work. And for the last year or so, I've been coding a lot with Rust in this AI way, but control first way. And so I'm just using these videos and that opportunity to share that with everybody. Okay, until, oh, sir, learning Laravel is worse in this area. I don't know. That I barely know what is, I think I'm going to regret what I'm saying here, but what is this stuff here, this library? It's a Rust stuff. Is it a Rust thing? I remember having seen the name, but I don't. Oh, Blade. What is Blade? Wow. Oh, that's PHP business? Yeah, okay, sorry. You answered my question. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think in Rust, in the Rust stuff, I'm not sure. You can, there's always good pattern in these kind of things, but there's also, sometimes it gets very deep into the way of the thinking. So I'm not sure. I mean, for me, I work with Rust all the time. Rust is a nice language if you really are not into too deep into engineering or not, perhaps not. But that is the way I like to work it, because the way you do an app or a server or backend or whatever is always with the same power in a way. So that's why I like Rust. Okay. So if Laravel is will be hard, I wouldn't. But again, I'm not a PHP expert, so I don't know. Okay, so hopefully that one was helpful on the Rust. Thanks for the question though. And until next one, happy coding.